Welcome back, everyone, to this week's edition of Back Your Play with Q. I'm your host, Rich Quinones. All right, so we did a lot with the NBA, and I wanted to switch gears a little bit. Super Bowl Sunday, Super Bowl 57, the upstart Philadelphia Eagles against the Kansas City Chiefs. Don't let that giant helmet fool you, right? We got to be objective on the air, and that's what we're going to do. So I kind of teased it going into the break where I mentioned this game almost reeks of what transpired a couple of years ago. And that's a Super Bowl where Tampa Bay and Brady's first year ran roughshod over Kansas City. And they did that because Tampa Bay controlled the line of scrimmage. Tampa Bay won the battle in the trenches, and they really reduced Patrick Mahomes to he almost looked like a rookie running around, trying to make plays, threw a couple picks. They couldn't run the ball that day. You didn't have to ask a lot of Tom Brady. I almost get the sense that we might see that come Sunday night in Arizona. And a couple schools of thought here. Mahomes is not 100%, and few players are. So obviously, Kansas City, Andy Reid, they're going to keep it close to the vest. They're not going to sit here and say, yeah, he's at 100%. I still believe if he's compromised a little bit, and I'll say 85 to 90%, I still believe that plays in the favor of the Philadelphia Eagles. It does, because what happens is now you overcompensate, right? You can't move around as much. Maybe you're forcing the issue. Maybe you're trying to play hero ball a little too much. And when Patrick Mahomes, as great as a quarterback as he is, when he starts to do that, that's when he throws those bad picks. And we've seen it. He threw two of them in the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay. So we've seen some red zone picks. It's rare. It's not like a Josh Allen, but we've seen some bad decision-making at times. That's why I think one of the X factors for Kansas City, yes, we can talk about the wide receivers. Yes, we can talk about the tight end and Travis Kelce, but I think it's going to be Isaiah Pacheco right down in Cumberland County, the Vineland product, who had a great career at Rutgers. So about 45 minutes or so, about an hour plus, I would say, from where we are broadcasting on this Saturday. He, to me, is the X factor. And that's why a lot of people are looking at the player props of over 11 rushing yards. They're going to have to give him 15 to 18, maybe 20 plus touches in this game. You're going to see a lot of the bubble screens. You'll see him kind of come out of the back row, maybe a little screen pass, maybe a couple shovel passes here or there. So you're knowing that going in, you would have to assume that the Eagles are going to have that roaming spy, right? Whether that linebacker is going to drip back in coverage and kind of laser focus, keep an eye on Mahomes, or Pacheco out of the backfield. So I like for him to hit that player prop, by the way, and go over. Kansas City defensively, they're going to have to figure out a way where the Eagles can run the football, whether it's Gainwell, whether it's Scott, whether it's Sanders. A lot of people think Scott's going to hit that 51.5 over rushing yards. Gainwell's been running the ball effectively. He really ran it well against the Giants and the 49ers. We couldn't really see too much about what the Eagles were about because those two games were not competitive at all. The Giants got overwhelmed early, and then once Purdy went down early on in that NFC Championship game, that was pretty much all she wrote. But my point is this. If the Eagles can establish the line of trenches, if they can win that battle at the line of scrimmage and in the trenches with that offensive line, that's one of the best in football. It's going to take a tremendous amount of pressure off Jalen Hurts. There's going to be some opportunities for Jalen Hurts to look down the field. There's going to be some opportunities for Jalen Hurts to make some plays with his arm. Now, do we think he's still compromised with that shoulder injury? He threw it well in the catch that wasn't a catch to Smith, where they should have replayed it. There was no expedited replay process. That's a story for another day on the air. So I think he's going to take his shots when it's there. That's why another player prop you got to look at, if you can get good value, A.J. Brown over receiving yards, and A.J. Brown longest reception. It's been fluctuating with some books, but remember now, catch it yards after the catch, the yak. So that's still considered a hit if you go over. Let's just say it's at 19 yards. Kansas City has been susceptible to the big play. We've seen it. We saw it in the playoffs. We saw it during the regular season. The Philadelphia Eagles thrive with the vertical passing game and that element. They like to have those big hits, whether it's Brown, whether it's tight end Goddard, whether it's Smith as well, streaking down the sideline. So look for that try to find some value in that play. Defensively, the Philadelphia Eagles, they just match up really well against Kansas City. And that defensive line has been dominant. They get to the quarterback. They sack the quarterback. They put a lot of pressure. They harass the quarterback. We saw it against the Giants with Daniel Jones early on. Reddick was a beast. And then we saw it in the NFC Championship game. I mean, Hassan Reddick, we talk about Donald, we talk about Micah Parsons. You got to stick, Bosa, you got to stick a player like Hassan Reddick right there for Defensive Player of the Year because he played outstanding football this season for the Philadelphia Eagles. So, they're going to be aggressive. You might get backers, you might get linebackers blitzing off the edge. And I think what happens is if that creates a little bit of space, if the seas start to part for Patrick Mahomes, then I can sit here with confidence and I can say, okay, he's going to have an opportunity to make some plays. He's going to have an opportunity to use his legs. Then you might want to look into the over 19.5 rushing yards for Patrick Mahomes. So there's another player prop for you. The game itself, though, if the Philadelphia Eagles cannot contain him, if he starts running around, he looks good on that ankle, and he starts making the Mahomes plays, now all of a sudden you're keeping the offense off the field. You're keeping the defense on the field. You're extending drives with your legs. Now, instead of those early 3 and outs, it's a 7 play, it's an 8 play, it's a 9 play, it's a 10 play, it's a 12 play, it's a 15 play drive. And it certainly has to culminate in a touchdown. That's the one thing I'll caution you when you're watching this game. And if you're thinking about betting the game, Kansas City, their red zone defense, they sit right around 67%. Okay. So I would say it's almost like a C plus. It's 70% of the time we're scoring on you in the red zone. Conversely, the Philadelphia Eagles convert, I would say, about 68% from the red zone. And that's the one thing they do really well that most teams don't. You don't have to worry about too many field goals with the Philadelphia Eagles, right? They try to punch it in and they get 7. If Kansas City is going field goal for touchdown against the Eagles, they're not going to win this game. And I would almost say the same thing with the Eagles, but they've got such higher octane performance type of offense that doesn't scare me. Here's the X factor. So I gave you some players and I gave you some player matchups and I gave you some player props. This is head coaching, right? The Super Bowl is, you really kind of see the rubber meets the road in the Super Bowl when it comes to head coaching. Andy Reid's been here before. And Andy Reid, for all those years with the Eagles where they went to those, 4 straight NFC championships, finally got the Super Bowl, time management, Donovan got sick, he lost to the Patriots, he goes to Kansas City, Andy Reid does. And remember, his time was done because the Giants beat him 42-7 to close out the season. The players quit. He goes to Kansas City and has a really nice run. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He's got that experience over Nick Sirianni. So the question I'll pose to you guys to kind of think about for the rest of the day and leading up to kickoff on Sunday around 6:37 in Arizona, the Philadelphia Eagles find themselves down, 14-3, 17-3. Offense is struggling. And let's say it's a 4th and 3 on their own 35. Does Nick Sirianni change his philosophy because you're down now 14-3, 17-3? Or is he going to go for it? And that's the game within the game, right? Head coaching. That's where the rubber is going to meet the road. There's going to be some decisions to be made in this game by Andy Reid and Nick Sirianni. And to be fair and to be objective, he didn't have to worry too much about that because the game against the Giants in the divisional round was pretty much over after a quarter. You can argue the first series when they scored. Same can be said with the Smith catch, no catch, that they convert to a touchdown, and then Purdy gets knocked out. The whole complexion of that NFC Championship game changed. It's not like he really had a coach. He's done a good job of making adjustments during the regular season, okay? And we know this team has shown they can come back, but as a regular season against the likes of Jacksonville and Indiana, Kansas City's a different animal. So that battle is really going to be fascinating in my estimation to watch. And I think that's where you do give the edge to Andy Reid. Quarterback position, you have to give the edge to Kansas City as well, even though Mahomes is compromised. Tight end, edge to Kansas City. Offensive line, edge to Philadelphia. Wide receivers, edge to Philadelphia. I think the running backs, if you want to call it a wash, that's fine. Ultimately, that defensive front, to me, I think that's going to be the difference in this game. And if the Philadelphia Eagles start to get penetration, if the Philadelphia Eagles start to get to Patrick Mahomes, and he's, looking at the edge and he's not looking past the line, right? If you start to see that, it's going to be a long night for the Kansas City Chiefs. This line has fluctuated, right? I mean, it opened with Kansas City, then it dropped, and then it was almost a pick 'em, then it was plus 1.5. You saw that shift, the money now starting to come on Philadelphia's side, and rightfully so. They were 14-3. They were arguably the best team Sunday to Sunday for an entire season. It's just going to be the health of the quarterbacks, the coaching, perhaps late in this game, and really I think the battle in the trenches, right? And to me, I'm just looking for a good game, and the storylines of Andy Reid in Philadelphia, the storylines that we have two starting quarterbacks, opposing quarterbacks, African-American quarterbacks playing in the NFL in the Super Bowl is great. It's wonderful to see. I don't care if Jalen Hurts goes out there and he's 18 of 36 for $176 and 2 picks. That's not going to make me change my perception or my thought or my viewpoint of Jalen Hurts. He's still going to get the bag. He's still going to get the contract. He's still going to get the money. He is, folks. Jeffrey Lurie already said this. You got other teams in the NFL that would love to be in this position. Look what's going on down 95. Lamar Jackson, quote, $100 million off, right? We don't know what's going to happen with Carr. We don't know what's going to happen with Rodgers. Even Brady, who announced his retirement. Are we really sure that Tom Brady is going to be gone for good? So the quarterbacking carousel, you got 32 teams. You get 10 to 15 that are really consistent. Jalen Hurts is that top tier level. He's top, I would say, 6-7 quarterback right now in the NFL. He's a young player. They've entrusted him, and now he has his moment to go out there, and he has his moment to take on the opportunity and gel and excel. And sometimes the bright lights get a little too bright, but we've seen this before with his track record. We saw it in college, did we not? We saw what he did in college. Let's not forget about that. I know it's a different animal come Sunday. I know it's a Super Bowl come Sunday, and you feel the weight of the world is on you. It's like a young kid making their pro debut, right? You just want to get in there, step in the ring, and maybe you were an Army for a lot of years and you had great success, but all of a sudden the headgear comes off, the gloves are a different ounce and a different weight, and you get that first shot from that right cross or that right hook, and it's how you respond. And I think if the Eagles punch Kansas City in the mouth early, they might have an opportunity to put this game away, because the one thing I'll say about the Philadelphia Eagles is that if you panic against them after they punch in the mouth, you're pretty much done. You're pretty much done. You can't lose composure. Kansas City is not going to be able to lose composure. If Kansas City starts to have a couple 3-and-outs and the Eagles are trying to flip the field, shorten up the field, get a quick score, it's going to be tough, man. So when we go confidence level on the show, we either go flated up with the Duke, which means confidence level is like at a 10, right? 10 out of 10, or we go deflated with the Duke. Now, yes, I made up the word flated up, but that's what we use here on BYP. So right now, my confidence level in the Eagles winning this game on Sunday, I would have to say it's flated up. This game to me almost reminds me of what we saw a couple of years ago, Tampa Bay and Kansas City. And I think, and it pains me to say this, but I'm trying to be objective as possible, even with Big Blue Helmet. I think the Eagles will cause and create a couple turnovers. I think Jalen Hurts will have his moment. I think Jalen Hurts' legs are also going to be very dangerous. You could see a player like Sanders have a breakout game, Goddard have a breakout game. This, to me, is going to be a fourth quarter type of Super Bowl. It wouldn't shock me if it comes down to a last-second field goal. I'm not inclined to play the over. I've heard a lot of 36, 31, 34, 31. I'm looking more at a 27, 23, 27, 24 type of game, leaning towards the Philadelphia Eagles. So my official BYB prediction, I would say the Eagles win this game. But again, it's not official. I still have the right to change that and flip over the next, today's Saturday, flip it all the way up to game time. But we gave you some good player props, right? Kelsey, anytime touchdown, not a ton of value, -110. Sanders over rushing yards. A.J. Brown over receiving yards and longest reception. Hurts over rushing yards. Pacheco with his rushing attempts as well. So that's kind of where we're at with Super Bowl Sunday. So, all right, got to start wrapping up on a Saturday edition of BYP. Appreciate everyone keeping us locked in. As always, you guys have been fantastic, and can't appreciate enough the great folks TV Delmarva, and also on the YouTube channel, Rich Q on Q. As I mentioned, you can hashtag BYP on Twitter, on IG. Follow me there, Rich Q on Q. We've got some really good content on the page. Not only do we have a lot of one-on-ones that I've done with fighters and boxers, we also have the podcast 27 and Q, which I host with two-time Super Bowl champ from the New York Football Giants, running back number 27, Brandon Jacobs. And we have a ton of hoops content, a ton of gambling with BYP, and a ton of NFL content. Our insiders, Nick Costco, Javon Alford, Lloyd Vance. We had some good Hall of Fame talk with Steve Gardner from MLB USA Today. So if you guys get a chance, we love to see you at the YouTube channel, Rich Q on Q. We'll go live. Typically, we go live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And we put out some more content Thursday, Friday, and then we'll meet back here every Saturday from 9 to 9:30 on TV Delmarva. So with that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful sports weekend. Enjoy top 25 college hoops. I'll put out my plays on Twitter at RichQ on Q. Enjoy the Super Bowl 57. And remember, it's all about money management. Have fun. Do not gamble what you don't have, and sit back, enjoy it. Like I said, it's money management. Don't go crazy. If you like a bet or two, live with it, enjoy it. And we always like to say, if you say it, you play it. If you back it, you're going to stack it. Have a good sports Saturday. And again, we always appreciate everyone keeping us locked in for this edition of Back Your Play. I'm Rich Quinones. We'll talk to you next time with another edition of BYP.